Hello, welcome to BELAJAU, Chapter Respiratory System in Human and Animal. Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to all. So, my name is Puan Adiani binti Ahmad, and I'm from Sekolah Menengah Sains Muzaffar Shah, Melaka. So, today we are going to discuss on the respiratory system in human and animal, specifically regarding the gases exchanging in our body. So basically, this discussion will be lingering around the gases exchange from lung to body cell and back body cell to lung. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to explain the mechanism of oxygen transport from lung, which is specifically the alveolus, into the blood capillaries, along the blood circulatory system, and to the body cell. Second, explain the mechanism of carbon dioxide transport from the body cell into the blood capillary, along the blood circulatory system to the lung. Before this subtopic, students have learned on the mechanism of human and animal respiration. While inhaling, air enters the lung direct to the alveolus, while exhaling, air is expelled out of the lung through mouth and nose. There are few factors that stimulate the inhalation and exhalation. Among them are air pressure inside the lung cavity and outside the atmosphere. Second, the contraction and relaxation of the muscles that involves in the respiratory system, which are diaphragm and intercostal, external and internal. Third is the volume of the lung. The volume of the lung affects whether to inhale or to exhale. And lastly is the movement of the ribs. If you inhale, the ribs will be upward and outward, while if you were to exhale, the ribs will be inward and downward. So before we proceed with the mechanism of gases exchange, let's look at the nature of oxygen and carbon dioxide. They are all gases. Gases are small molecules, non-polar molecules, and able to diffuse between the phospholipid bilayer and the plasma membrane. So what's the problem? There is no problem. The gases exchange will adopt simple diffusion from high concentration to low concentration until it reaches dynamic equilibrium. Thus describe how do these molecules diffuse across few cells from the alveolus, the empty cavity of the alveolus, through the epithelial cells of the alveolus, and into the epithelial cells of the blood capillaries. Same goes to carbon dioxide. From the body cells, from the body cells, diffuse through the plasma membrane of the body cell itself and into the blood capillaries, the epithelial of the blood capillaries. Other than that, oxygen is neutral, It's the pH of oxygen is pH 7, which is neutral. However, as for carbon dioxide, it is slightly acidic. In the Wikipedia, as I quote, the pH of carbon dioxide is generally 5.6. So what if high concentration in carbon dioxide in our body? Will our body be acidity? Will our body be acidic? Or there's a mechanism for our body to make sure, to ensure the acidity of carbon dioxide will be reduced. Is it okay for our body to be acidic? Now, let's proceed to the general flow of all the gases. So first, as we inhale, the air will diffuse through our nose, mouth, into our trachea and right direct to our alveolus. Of course, it will pass through the bronchiole and the bronchus. The adaptations of alveolus, which we have discussed in our previous sessions, in the previous sessions done by the other teachers, which are, one of it is alveolus is moist. Therefore, it's easy for the air to dissolve in the thin layer of moisture. Second, alveolus is tiny and numerous, so that the total surface area of the alveolus is large. The larger the total surface area, the more oxygen can be diffused into the blood capillaries. Third, numerous number of blood capillaries that surrounds the alveolus. The higher the number of blood capillary, the higher the number of oxygen can diffuse into the blood capillaries from the alveolus. Now, as we can see in my diagram, blood that leaves the lung through the pulmonary vein has a higher partial pressure of oxygen and low partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Therefore, we are saying that in the pulmonary vein, mostly oxygen is transported to the body cells. However, blood that enters the lung through the pulmonary artery from the heart has a low partial pressure of oxygen and high partial pressure of the carbon dioxide. This is the result of cellular respiration that has occurred in the body cell. The products of cellular respiration in the body cell, one of them is carbon dioxide. As I said just now, carbon dioxide is acidic. So it is essential for us to expel the carbon dioxide in our body system, out of the body, so that the blood internal environment won't be as acidic as we don't want. Hi, let's proceed with the diffusion of oxygen from the alveolus into the blood capillary. As we can see in my diagram, the flow of the blood is from the right side of the diagram, which has high partial pressure of carbon dioxide. While in the left side of the diagram has high partial pressure of oxygen. The flow of the blood is from the right to the left. Now, logically, why does it have high partial pressure of carbon dioxide? This is because the blood has just passed the body cell. The body cell that undergoes cellular respiration. One of the product is carbon dioxide. Now, the aim is to eliminate and expel the carbon dioxide out of our system. The high partial pressure of carbon dioxide will reach the alveolus, and carbon dioxide will diffuse from the blood capillary into the alveolus, while the oxygen will diffuse from high concentration in the alveolus into the blood capillary. Both exchange adopts simple diffusion through phospholipid bilayer. As we can see in this diagram, the oxygen has two ways of diffusing from alveolus into the blood capillaries. One of those is by combining itself with hemoglobin in the red blood cell. In the red blood cell, there's a protein structure called hemoglobin. It's a kind of plasma protein that stays in the red blood cell. Hemoglobin has a very high affinity towards oxygen. Thus, when oxygen combines with the hemoglobin, it will form oxyhemoglobin. And oxyhemoglobin will stay in the red blood cell as it transports itself to the body cell. As illustrated in the diagram, we can see there are two ways of oxygen transportation from the alveolus to the body cell. As we can see here, this is our alveolus with high partial pressure of oxygen. So oxygen will diffuse into the blood capillaries, which has blood plasma and red blood cell. So this is the red blood cell. So 2% of the oxygen will dissolve in the blood plasma. What is blood plasma? Blood plasma is the dissolved materials outside the red blood cell, which consists of other dissolved materials, which are hormones, enzymes, glucose, amino acid, and everything. The rest of the oxygen will diffuse into the red blood cell and combine itself with hemoglobin and form oxyhemoglobin. So these 98% of oxygen will be transported along the blood circulatory system until it reaches the body cell. Once it reaches the body cell, the 2% dissolved oxygen will easily diffuse into the body cell through simple diffusion. While the 98% of the oxygen which combines with the oxyhemoglobin in the red blood cell will dissociate itself into hemoglobin and oxygen. Thus, oxygen can diffuse right after the separation into the body cell. From high concentration to the low concentration, from high partial pressure to the low partial pressure in the body cell for cellular respiration. There are two ways of oxygen transport in human body. One of those that I have explained just now, oxygen will combine itself with hemoglobin in the red blood cell to form oxyhemoglobin. Oxyhemoglobin in the red blood cell will be transported in the form of oxyhemoglobin through the blood circulatory system and to the body cell. This is around 98%. 98% of the oxygen will adopt this way. However, there are a small number of oxygen that can easily diffuse into the blood plasma. What is blood plasma? Blood plasma is the external surrounding out of the red blood cell in the blood. Meaning we have the blood and we have red blood cell. The external environment of the red blood cell, which consists of water, enzyme, hormones, and everything, is called blood plasma. So 2% of the oxygen which has diffused into the blood capillaries will easily be transported within the blood plasma along the blood circulatory system. As a wrap, again I explained there are two ways of oxygen transportation in human body. First, 2% out of all the oxygen that diffuse from the alveolus will easily diffuse within the blood plasma of the blood and be transported along the blood circulatory system to the body cell. The second way is around 90%, 98% of the oxygen will combine with the hemoglobin in the red blood cell to form oxyhemoglobin. Thus, 98% of oxygen will be transported from the alveolus to the body cell in the form of oxyhemoglobin. Alright, let's proceed with the transport of carbon dioxide. If the oxygen has two ways of transport from the alveolus to the body cells, as for carbon dioxide, there are three ways. For carbon dioxide to be transported from the body cell to the lung. In my opinion, there are three ways which is more than the oxygen, because carbon dioxide is very acidic. Carbon dioxide is really acidic. That is not suitable to the internal environment of a human body. Therefore, we really need to expel or to eliminate the carbon dioxide by any means. So let's see. The first way of eliminating carbon dioxide from the body cell is through the dissolve of carbon dioxide into the blood plasma. Here it is. Carbon dioxide will diffuse from high concentration to low concentration of from high partial pressure to the low partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood capillaries. It will dissolve in the blood plasma as oxygen just now. Again, what is blood plasma? Blood plasma is the external environment, the outer environment of red blood cell, which consists of other dissolved materials. For example, hormone, enzymes, glucose, amino acid, and etc. The second way is to combine with the hemoglobin. From high concentration of carbon dioxide in the body cells, carbon dioxide will diffuse into the red blood cell and combine with the hemoglobin. Same goes to the ways adopted by the oxygen. So carbon dioxide combines with hemoglobin and we call it carbaminohemoglobin. In the previous slide, oxygen that combines with the hemoglobin, we call it oxyhemoglobin. As for carbon dioxide, we call it carbaminohemoglobin. Okay, now the critical part is 70% of carbon dioxide will adopt this way, the third way, which is combining with the water which present in the red blood cell. high partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the body cell will diffuse into the red blood cell, and 70% of them will combine with water. With the help of enzyme carbonic anhydrase, they will form carbonic acid. Carbonic acid. However, this carbonic acid in the red blood cell is actually unstable. It cannot stand by itself. Therefore, it will dissociate itself before being transported into bicarbonate ions and hydrogen ions. So this is the part where we can see why carbon dioxide is acidic. The higher the amount of conversion of carbon dioxide into the carbonic acid and dissociate again to become carbonic ions, the higher the amount of conversion of carbon dioxide into the carbonic acid and higher dissociation of carbonic acid into the bicarbonate ions and hydrogen ions, the higher the amount of hydrogen ions available. As we can see, the higher the amount of hydrogen ions, the lower the acidity of a certain environment. Thus, as this red blood cell being transported from the body cell to the lung, carbon dioxide will be transported in the form of bicarbonate ions. Bicarbonate ions will not stay along the journey from the body cell to the lung. Bicarbonate ion will not stay in the red blood cell. It will diffuse out of the red blood cell and will diffuse again once it reached the alveolus. It will shift with chloride ions, where bicarbonate ion diffuse out of the red blood cell and the chloride ion from the outside red blood cell will diffuse into the red blood cell. We call it chloride shift, while the hydrogen ion will stay in the red blood cell. Alright guys, so what happened when the dissolved carbon dioxide transport from the body cell to the lung? Second, the carbaminohemoglobin in the red blood cell being transported from the body cell to the lung. And the third form of carbon dioxide, which is the bicarbonate ion in the blood plasma being transported from the body cell to the lung. So three forms of carbon dioxide is transported along the blood circulatory system to the lung to be expelled or to be eliminated. So here it goes. Once they reach the alveolus, the dissolved carbon dioxide will easily diffuse from the blood capillary into the alveolus from high concentration to low concentration, adopting simple diffusion. Secondly is the carbaminohemoglobin, whereby the carbaminohemoglobin will dissociate itself into the carbon dioxide and hemoglobin, and carbon dioxide will diffuse easily from high concentration to low concentration, from high partial pressure to low partial pressure, from the red blood cell into the alveolus. Let's see what happened to the bicarbonate ions. Just now, bicarbonate ion sits outside the red blood cell. Now, it is essential for the bicarbonate ion to diffuse again into the red blood cell and chloride shift occur again. The bicarbonate diffuse into the red blood cell while the chloride ions diffuse out of the red blood cell. Bicarbonate ion will again combine with the hydrogen ions which present in the red blood cell to form again as carbonic acid. Carbonic acid with the help of carbonic anhydrase will dissociate again into carbon dioxide and water. This reaction is indicated as fast reaction. Now, when the carbon dioxide has become the gas state again, the carbon dioxide can easily diffuse from high concentration in the red blood cell into the alveolus. Thus, all the carbon dioxide has been expelled from the red blood cell into the alveolus in any ways, either from dissolved carbon dioxide in the blood plasma or the carbaminohemoglobin, the carbon dioxide which combined with the hemoglobin in the form of carbaminohemoglobin, or the carbon dioxide that has combined with water with the help of carbonic anhydrase to form carbonic acid and as well as bicarbonate ions. So the process has complete, and as we exhale, the carbon dioxide will be expelled out of the lung. So as I wrap, there are three ways of carbon dioxide transportation from body cell to the alveolus. First, carbon dioxide will easily diffuse into the blood plasma and will be transported along the blood circulatory system to the lung alveolus. Second, the combination of carbon dioxide with hemoglobin in the red blood cell to form carbaminohemoglobin, and it will be transported in the form of carbaminohemoglobin to the lung. And third, carbon dioxide, 70% of the carbon dioxide will be transported in the form of bicarbonate ions. The equation includes carbon dioxide combines with water with the help of carbonic anhydrase enzyme to form acid carbonic. Acid carbonic by nature is an unstable compound. Therefore, to be transported along the circulatory system, it will dissociate into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate ions. This is where we indicate that the higher the amount of carbon dioxide dissolved in the body, the higher the acidity, of the internal body itself. This is because the higher the amount of hydrogen ions that is acidic. Thus, hydrogen ion stays in the red blood cell along the transportation. Bicarbonate ion will diffuse out of the red blood cell and being transported along the system within the blood plasma. As all three forms of carbon dioxide reach alveolus, they will all be dissociated again. All the equation will reverse directly again to form carbon dioxide gas. Thus, carbon dioxide gas will diffuse easily through the simple diffusion from high concentration in the blood capillary to the low concentration in the alveolus. So these are the summary that I can present here, whereby the transport of oxygen adopts 2 ways, while the transport of carbon dioxide adopts 3 ways. Oxygen diffuses into the blood plasma from the alveolus, and 98% of oxygen will combine with the hemoglobin in the red blood cell to form oxyhemoglobin. As for carbon dioxide, about 3% of the carbon dioxide will diffuse into the blood plasma. 27%, approximately 27%, there are those says otherwise. 27% of carbon dioxide will diffuse with hemoglobin and form carbaminohemoglobin. Carbaminohemoglobin will stay in the red blood cell and will be transported along the red blood cell to the lung. And the third way is carbon dioxide will be transported in the form of bicarbonate ion. You can I have presented the equations, the half equations and the full equations in the previous slide. Thus, bicarbonate ions will be transported in the blood plasma along the blood circulatory system to the lung. Oh well, we have reached to the end. Now, let's see one example of the essay question regarding the gaseous exchange in human. Right. If I'm not mistaken, this is one of the trial state trial question. So let's see. Diagram 7.2 shows gaseous exchange across the surface of the alveolus and the capillary in lungs. Right? Based on the diagram 7.2, so the keyword is explain how. Explain how, meaning it needs an explanation on a process. How means there is a mechanism demanded in the question. Respiratory gases are transported. Respiratory gases refers to carbon dioxide and oxygen are transported in human body. So it is not specifically transported from where to where. It's just from within the human body. So to get 10 marks, first we need to explain 1. A mechanism. 2. It needs explanation. So the stimulus 7.2 shows the oxygen enters the alveolus, while the carbon dioxide is eliminated out of the alveolus. We have alveolar cavity filled with air. There's a gaseous exchange occur from alveolus to the blood capillaries. Then we have the flow of deoxygenated blood from the left, from the pulmonary artery, to the right into the pulmonary vein, meaning this is a pulmonary circulation. Okay, now it shows that there's blood plasma, capillary wall, epithelium cell, film of moisture, red blood cell. So I would say, in my humble opinion, the diagram is a bit not related to the question, but let's focus on the question. when it says how respiratory gases, meaning how oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported, regardless transported where, meaning it can be from lung to the body cell, which is for the oxygen, and from the body cell to lung. So I have a suggested sample answer here for you. As for oxygen, I can suggest oxygen diffuse. So we are talking about the diffusion of oxygen from the alveolus to the blood capillary. So oxygen diffuse from alveolus into the deoxygenated blood in the blood capillary, while the carbon dioxide diffuse from deoxygenated blood in the blood capillary into the alveolus. So that is the exchange, the gases exchange process. Now, what happened to the oxygen? So P3, I suggested, oxygen combines with hemoglobin, first way, to form oxyhemoglobin. This is a compulsory, so that we can know in which form of oxygen it is transported. Oxygen, so as for the explanation for the oxyhemoglobin, oxyhemoglobin will be transported in the oxygenated blood, or which is in the red blood cell, along the circulatory system to the body cell. The second way of oxygen is as explained in the P4. Oxygen, small amount of oxygen will diffuse into the blood plasma. As for the explanation for the plasma, oxygen will be transported in the blood plasma or within the oxygenated blood to the body cell. Right? Now, so we have allocated about approximately 5 marks for the oxygen. Now, we have the rest, plenty of points to explain 3 ways of carbon dioxide transportation. Since in the question, it doesn't say from where to where of the transportation occur, thus, we can actually explain, I suggested, the explanation of carbon dioxide transport from the body cell to the alveolus to be expelled or to be eliminated. Now, the 5th point, I can suggest carbon dioxide, the combination of carbon dioxide with the hemoglobin. Carbon dioxide combines with the hemoglobin to form carbaminohemoglobin. So this is compulsory. Carbaminohemoglobin will be transported in the red blood cell along the circulatory system to the lung. Now again, small amount of carbon dioxide will diffuse into the blood plasma, the second way. Explanation for the second way is carbon dioxide will be transported within the blood plasma to the lung from the body cell. Now, into the third ways. The third ways is a bit lengthy of the explanation. So the first one is carbon dioxide, 70% optional. Carbon dioxide will combine with water in the red blood cell to form carbonic acid. If I'm not mistaken, if you provide it with a complete equation, it is still acceptable with the help of carbonic anhydrase enzyme. Now, explanation for the combination, carbonic acid will also what? After the combination of the water and the carbon dioxide, what happened to the carbonic acid? Now, that is the explanation for the point. Carbonic acid will dissociate itself to form carbonate ions and hydrogenous ion. Again, if you present it with a complete equation, I really think it will be accepted. As it reaches the alveolus, bicarbonate ion will combine with hydrogen ions again to form carbonic acid. Carbonic acid again will with the help of carbonic anhydrase enzyme will form carbon dioxide and water again. Thus, carbon dioxide will diffuse from blood capillaries into the alveolus to be expelled, to be eliminated. Right. I really hope this is one of the starting point where you can familiarize yourself with the essay questions and the technique on how to answer the question. Well, that's all for now. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.